Hey everybody, welcome back to Lots of Stories. Hope you had a good week since the last time I saw you. Today on the show, I'm going to read some more things that I've written, and then we're going to improvise a story. So that's what we have in store. I hope you'll enjoy, and I'm going to pull up the first thing that I'm going to read to you. So this is actually a poem that I wrote early on in this isolation period. I wrote it at the end of March. And here goes. Is it lightning? Is it clouds? Is it bursts or sunshine shrouds? No matter where we go, it seems like streaks zoom in the sky. Some might call it bolts or rays or something on the fly. I don't know what to call it, but I know it runs along. Then it zigzags into angles and it finds direction wrong. So it zigs and zags and zigs again, and it's never in a throng. It's the kind of lonely weapon that could make a hero strong. If you take the bolt inside your hand, the edges they might cut inside your flesh till it draws blood and you are bleeding, but it doesn't really matter. You don't really care. At least you're feeling something and your blood will fill the air. The lightning doesn't realize that you are really tough. It could cut you with surprising zigs that wouldn't be enough to stop you from the trying, to hold it in your hand. You're not content with underneath, just sitting on the land. You don't care if skies are gray or yellow or they're pink. You're not content to watch them float. You must be on the brink. You're on the brink because you are sick of being just a human, with its limitations, loneliness, helpless with no acumen. To shift the natural order, to bring the sunshine back. You want to give the people hope that it won't all be black. It's not that you mind darkness. Okay, it's dark. You've had your rest, you've had your sleep. It's time for day to start. But the gods, they have other plans. They don't mind your distress. It's fun for them to see what makes humans feel depressed. It's fun for them? How could it be? Didn't they create us? Oh, sure they did, but we're not children. We are lab experiments. Like mice, we run. Like rats, we scurry. Like fruit flies, we die. And what are we to them? First of all, you must take pause. Many problems with your premise. First of all, we don't know if gods or God even exists. There may be no conspiracy to keep us in the dark. There may be no joy in seeing humans miss the mark. And no, we can't grab lightning, and we can't fill up the sky. But there is good that we can do. I promise, I don't lie. You can't grab a lightning bolt. Please don't glorify the pain that some people use to hurt themselves. Instead, please feel the rain. The rain comes down on a gray day, but if you look just right, it will fill the sky with every color light. Some say it comes down in thin shards, some say it's drops or tears, but I'll tell you the secret that you never can unhear. The rain comes down and cleans the air, and it humidifies. It brings the breeze and hears our pleas and helps our plants to rise. It fills us all with moisture. Moisture isn't like the light. You can't always see it, but it fills your cells up right. And more importantly, it makes the air so full, and the sky fills up, releases clouds, hushes, clears, and lulls. So if you see the lightning, please don't stop to curse the sky. If you see the bolts and clouds, you don't need to ask why. The existential questioning, I know it grips your soul, but you can choose to inhale, exhale, and just let it go. Close your eyes and feel the air and let it moisturize. And then when you are ready, you can open up your eyes. You'll see the streaks zoom in the sky, and also you will see a double rainbow telling you that hope is welcoming. So as I said, that's a poem that I wrote in late March. I would not exactly say that it's completed. I'm sure there are some edits to do, some cadences to figure out, but I wrote it in a short period of time in response to a writing prompt, and it kind of stuck with me and I kind of still liked it, so I thought I'd read it to you. Now, the next thing I thought I'd share with you today is something that I wrote actually just last week in the middle of July, and is also in the response to a writing prompt in a writing class that I've been taking. It's something like a story, maybe maybe, I don't know. And I thought I'd read it to you. So here we go. These people had not seen each other in such a long, long time. It was a family. It was a family made up of lots and lots of families. Families of all kinds. Some were mothers and fathers and children. Some were best friends who lived together. Some were best friends who lived apart and hadn't smelled each other's auras until today, for the first time in so long. Some were grandparents and grandchildren. Some were aunts and nieces and nephews. Many were not related except through their souls and their hearts and their hands, through the actions they took to help support someone else here, even if they didn't know that was what they were doing. Some did that by sharing knowledge. Some did that by sharing seeds. Some by growing cotton or flax or linen. Some by raising sheep and shearing wool. Some who spun cotton and flax and linen and wool into yarn. Some by knitting yarn into clothes. Some by growing the plants that would become the dyes that gave the clothes the color that brought the people to life. And even though they hadn't all been together here in the light of the sun that bounced off of the short waving grasses, whose morning dew had just evaporated on the toes of this very extended family, this community, this beloved community. This beloved community ran out into the open field, their toes and their heels releasing the oils in the grass, so that their reunion smelled so, so fresh. And as they ran to greet each other, their hearts got so big that it stretched through their arms, and they had to raise them up and extend them, ready to hug before a person was close. After all of the hugs, all the smiles and tears, all of the fresh smells of grass and the aura smells of people, after all of that hung in the air and fell to the ground, the dew of the afternoon, what didn't fall, was the soft and tinkling laughter. The laughter of connection. And in the air, they all looked and saw that in the air, what was hanging like fruit from heavy vines was their laughs. Their laughs hung like fruit, mature and ripe, looking like it might be alone on its own connection to the vine. But then they looked further down and saw that the vine connected all the laughs. The vine was the air between them, and their laughs were the fruit. And they picked and ate and drank the juices and the seeds. The seeds were saved by those who garden and grow. And then the evening descended, slowly, slowly, like a very deliberate kaleidoscope, like light being put through a kaleidoscope, the intermixing of blues and shades and shapes that change, blues that range from cool to warm, blues that haven't yet found their place in the sky for the night, that shift patiently as they turn. As the blues descended and shifted, the dew of the evening arose from the ground to meet the changing of the light, and each member of the beloved community could feel it in their toes and could wash their hands in it, like a river burbling up from the grass, snaking through the fresh green blades and the dirt mixing to mud and the fingertips of the people. And once they knew their hands were clean, washed by the evening dew, and the sky still crisp and cool before the warm darkness of nighttime descends, before the stars fill up their eyes, but after the some who brought the kindling and the wood started the tiniest flicker of a fire in the center of the open field, no bigger than 2 blades of grass and a flower of clover. Once their hands were clean and the fire flicked, they took hand in hand, one person to the next, no distinctions for the moment of who came from which house, just all of us together. Anyone who was next to anyone, the youngster and the elder, the long-lost friends, the neighbors who couldn't remember why they had fought, they all took hands, linking up into one giant connected chain, and then backing up and rearranging into one giant circle, surrounding the tiny flame. And now they use their toes and their heels to back up farther, as far back as they can go without removing one palm from another, without losing the interlacing of fingertips, until they couldn't go back any farther, and the flame started to grow, and they started to turn, and the flame was sprouted, and the heels turned to the right, and the toes picked up the pace, and the flame grew like a sapling that was surrounded by the wreath of the people that turned like a kaleidoscope with all its different shades and shapes, ever changing, ever growing, and the flame tried to reach the stars with its smoke, like a hand from the earth trying to connect with the sky, like the members of this beloved community connected with each other and danced and danced and danced. The fire was surrounded by community. It too was dancing, now having many flames that come together and apart within it, developing its own rhythms, like the heel-toe steps of the community surrounding it. But the fire was made up of flames and within the circle, but needed its own hand to reach out. Not wanting to burn down this beloved community, the fire stretched and stretched to grow its flames upwards to the sky. And when its flames could not reach any higher, they ended in shifting points, kaleidoscopic oranges and whites, and it looked upwards to the other points of light in the sky, all of those stars laying across that blanket of blue, energizing the velvet. The shifting points at the ends of the flames kept reaching higher and higher, lonely, looking for a hand to hold, like all of those lucky people dancing around, and all the fire could do was go up in smoke. But what if that smoke was like the oils and the auras, extending its scent so the sky could look down and grab on? So the smoke grew higher and higher, looking for a companion for the fire, floating through the air, until one little star looked down from the sky and blinked. And the star blinked until it beamed to the other stars, sending its rays out like the outstretched arms of the people, like the searching fires, flames, and smoke, using its light to ask the other stars if they would want to link up with the fire. And all those times you've seen the markings of constellations, the lines that people have drawn across the stars to understand how they connect, or to misunderstand based on their own myths. Well, that low little star sent its rays out to the other stars, and finally one star connected back, taking its hand, and then the next star saw how the others connected and followed along. And they had a triangle, and then the next and the next, until you could see the pathways of light between all of the stars in the sky, over the smoke and the flames and the fire and the grass and the people dancing around and around and around and around. And all the stars linked up and looked down, and all the people exhausting and needing water and rest linked down and looked up. And the fire was still searching for a friend, and the little star led all the stars to raise their arms and then bow low. And the little star started to fall, 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 until its rounded belly of light dipped down to the smoke. And the fire reached higher until its smoke could reach the sky. And the light and the smoke let their edges dance towards each other, like the interlacing fingertips of the people, who are now lying on their backs in the grass, watching the stars in the sky form a beloved community with their fire, their sources of light, united. The night wore on, the fire petered out, the stars returned to their place in the sky. The grasses waited for the morning dew. The people were soothed by the breeze wafting through their clothes, the fabrics they'd woven together. And in peace, they slept. Except for one little person who's lying with palms under head, to always remember the day and the night, preparing to write it down, so that when we must be alone, we will still know of this miracle, of the oneness of the world and its creatures. So that's that sort of story that I wrote last week. The prompt that was given to us in my writing class was to write about dancing, any scene or story that had to do with dancing. So that's what I came up with. And the first poem that I read to you, the prompt for that one was actually a couple paintings, and one of them had some lightning in it, and one had a very vibrant pink electric looking room that had a neon lightning bolt in it. So that's what came to mind for me. There's a siren passing by, so I'm going to pause for a minute. Okay. So with both of those pieces that I just read, As I said before, they were really written kind of in the moment, pretty quickly, with super minimal edits that I did either yesterday or today, just a couple lines here or there. But I guess in keeping with the tradition of this show that most things are improvised, even though those are things that I read to you, the writing of them was actually pretty improvised, pretty quick. So I hope you enjoyed them, and perhaps in the future I will edit them some more and turn them into something else. But for now, that's what I've got, and so that's what I'm going to share. Now we've come to the point in this episode where I'm going to make up a story. So now I have to figure out what I'm going to make up. So I'm going to look around the room for a little bit of inspiration, and let's just see what I come up with. By the way, I'm looking around the room, but I'm also looking out the windows. So anything in my field of vision is going to be acceptable for inspiration right now. I'm going to give myself a few different suggestions. So I'm going to go with spiderweb and pillow and gold. Okay, so these are my suggested words for myself. Spiderweb, pillow, and gold. And I'm just going to take a minute or so to think about it, and then I'll make up a story for you, and I hope you enjoy it. By the way, there's some really weird buzzing sound in the background. I don't know if it's going to stop. It sounds like a lawnmower, but I don't live in a place where there would be a lawnmower outside, so I just don't know. Okay. Spiderweb, pillow and gold. 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 Ooh, the light's shifting. That's the sun. I'm sitting near a window. That's why I have a shadow. Okay, we got this. Once upon a time, there was a little ladybug. Like most ladybugs, it was black and red. Its wings were red with black spots on it. And it loved to flutter from leaf to leaf, nibbling away. It especially liked to be in little gardens grown by people. Little gardens, raised bed gardens with lots of different species in it, because this ladybug wanted to go from the turnip greens to the beet greens to the zucchini flowers. It even liked the bushy tops of carrots that sometimes look like dill if they're thin enough. And its favorite leaf to eat was the basil leaves. That basil grew so bushy and tall. It was fragrant. It was delicious. It smelled like just the fresh morning air. It was so good. And it also, the shape of the leaf was so comfortable for the ladybug to sit on, because it had this beautiful like dip in it, and the ladybug liked to sit right where the stem parted into the two halves of the leaves, and it liked to sometimes put its feet right into the cracks, which are really the veins of the leaf. And sometimes the ladybug like to play that game where it, tries to hop over the veins so it doesn't touch them and likes to see what kind of balance it can have. But ladybugs can flutter along, so it's not such a hard game, but it's a fun one. One day, the ladybug was out on the top basil leaf in the bush. It was a smaller one. It was newer and greener, and well, not greener, but a brighter green, a springier green. And the ladybug was just enjoying sitting there and taking in the sun. It was actually a pretty hot day, and the sun was beating down pretty strong, but the ladybug felt really good, felt really energized by the light. And the ladybug started looking around the little raised bed garden and noticing that, all the vegetables were still there. The garden hadn't been harvested yet, even though everything was pretty ripe, and kind of wondered where was the creature, that big creature, that person who usually took out the plants. The zucchinis were ripe and full, and the ladybug knew that, of course, you don't want to overgrow your zucchini or else it becomes real seedy and big and hard to wrangle. So the zucchini was just wondering. The zucchini decided to peer over the edge of the basil leaf and look down, and saw not only that there were vegetables, but sparkling in the sunlight, golden, was a little wispy strand of a spider web. The ladybug looked over and over to see what else. Was it one strand? Was it a whole web? What was going on? And also to check out if there was a spider nearby, and if so, was it a spider that was going to be dangerous for it? Or could they coexist? The ladybug wasn't sure. So it peered out and looked, and just saw one or two strands shining in the light, looking all around, fluttering to see that little spider working so hard to create something of beauty and connection, a home where it could be safe and where it could get its food, which is scary for the ladybug and some of the other little bugs in the garden, because that's what the spider likes to eat. That's how the spider survives. But creating that home is the first step. Well, this little ladybug, adventurous and brave as always, fluttered up, not too close to the spider, not in catching space, but, nearby, socially distanced, and said to the spider, "Spider, I just wanted to know what your plans were for here. Are you making this your home? Are you just trying to learn how to spin? What's up? And maybe we can become friends and get along." And the spider said, I am new to building webs. This is my third or fourth. I've tried a couple times, haven't really made a big one. Honestly, there's this huge creature who comes up and keeps destroying them before I even get a chance to fully complete it. And I keep working and working every single day. And the ladybug said, wait a minute. You've seen the person? I haven't seen the person, and the vegetables haven't been harvested. And the spider said, yeah, I have actually seen the person. She spoke to me. She said to me, why are you making a spider web here? I know you need to survive, but I need my plants to survive too. This is what I eat, please don't destroy them. I mean, I know that we all need to share our food, what we grow, what we take from this earth, but please, I need these leaves. And the ladybug said, well, I can relate, because I need these leaves too. They're my home and they're my food, all at once. But the ladybug said, do you know why the person hasn't harvested any of this yet? And the spider said, honestly, I have no idea, but I kind of noticed that, usually the person will pick up a tool or something. I kind of noticed that the tool seemed heavier to the person than usual. And, I'm not sure, maybe they just had difficulty picking it up, or maybe there's something wrong with its hands. The ladybug said, wow, I hadn't thought about that. That creature is so big and powerful to my mind, always being able to shift things around that are like what I need to be stable underneath me. So I just didn't know. I didn't realize that the person could have physical challenges too. So the ladybug and the spider decided to wait around and see if the human would come along and maybe they could find some information. And actually the human did come along, the person did come along, and she did have a hard time lifting the tools. She had been resting her hand on the side of the raised bed garden, the wooden planks, like it was a pillow. That's how much comfort she needed, the difficulty holding up her hand. They heard her say, this arthritis strikes again and is getting in the way of my favorite pastime, is gardening. I hope there's a way I can get my beloved vegetables. And then another human came out of the house, the littler human, and said, I can do it. And the littler human picked up the tools and started gardening. And the ladybug and the spider found new leaves to hang out on. And the next year, the garden grew again, even better and more beautiful than before. The end. Okay, so that was a little story for you. It's definitely inspired by some amazing YouTube videos that I've been watching of homesteaders who are just super inspiring to me. I, to this point, live in a city, and I love going to pick your own farms and seeing these people on their homesteads and what they've been able to grow, and just being able to step outside into all of that air. It's just super inspiring to me, and I really admire it. So that's what I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed. And I'm looking forward to telling stories with you again soon. I did want to also say about the story that I had written in class about the community and the dancing and the fire and the stars and all of that. I've definitely been thinking a lot about what it will be like when we're all able to come together again after, after the outbreak of COVID-19 dies down, after the threat of infection of coronavirus is so broad and sweeping. And, I just want to say, I personally think it's really important that we do our best to isolate when we can. Of course, not everyone is able to, or not able to all the time, but, just trying to stay out of each other's paths so that we can keep each other safe and healthy. And in the meantime, dreaming of and looking forward to the days when we can be back together and safe, and and it's still a ways away, it seems, but hopefully not too far away. And in the meantime, we have stories and we have the ability to talk to one another in other ways where we can be together. So that's just what was on my mind when I was writing that story. And I'm looking forward to the days when the situation changes. And until then, I hope you're all safe and well, and your families are. And if not, that you find something that gives you the strength to get through the challenges, and just wishing you the best in the challenging time, and that we pull together by staying apart, and that hopefully we'll get to the other side of this sooner rather than later. So that's all for today. Thanks for joining me, and be well, stay safe, and see you next time.